Hacks to control any woman. You think you know how to attract women, right? Gifts, looks, charm, the usual playbook. But most men are forgotten for a reason. Machiavelli saw deeper, a darker path most never understand. The goal isn't just to be liked. It's to become unforgettable by controlling what she feels long after you're gone. You won't want to miss the final habit, or 99% will remain stuck in this dynamic for life. Power of fear. There's a quote from Machiavelli that most men actively ignore. It's uncomfortable, isn't it? It is much safer to be feared than loved. At first glance, this sounds brutal, like the creed of a villain. But if you stop listening to what people say and start watching what they do, you'll see its profound truth. Observe how women interact with different men. Love, while warm and kind, can easily become background noise. When it's always present, always soft, always giving, it loses its weight, its significance. Most men fall into this trap, believing more love, more vulnerability, more openness is the answer. But often this leads to her emotional investment fading. What's freely given without challenge holds no inherent power. Now consider fear, not the destructive kind. No yelling, no violence, no overt control. That's weakness masquerading as strength, and women can detect it instantly. True fear is the subtle yet firm boundaries of a man that she feels without him uttering a word. He doesn't need to raise his voice, argue, or even justify his worth. He simply withdraws. That silence teaches her more than any speech ever could. He doesn't chase. He doesn't explain his hurt. He doesn't beg for her to stay. He lets her experience his absence. And that void hits harder than any emotional outburst. The moment she grasps his resolve, the dynamic shifts. She understands he won't compromise his principles for her. She realizes disrespect means losing him. Attraction morphs into obsession, not because he offered more, but because he was willing to offer nothing when his values were challenged. This isn't the fear of a man, but the fear of losing a man she can't dominate. The real secret: most women aren't captivated by being loved. They're captivated by the man who doesn't need their love to feel whole. That's why they gravitate towards the man who walks away. Respect the one who stands firm, and can't stop thinking about the man who never pleaded. He wasn't cruel. He was unshakable. He possessed something 99% of men lack. Standards that weren't for sale. Machiavelli wasn't rejecting love. He was teaching that respect must precede it. Without the fear of loss, love grows complacent. The deepest desire stems not from what you give, but from what you're prepared to take away if undervalued. She might love you, enjoy your company, but without the fear of losing you, you are utterly replaceable. However, if she knows you won't remain where you aren't honored, her attention will be earned, not begged for. This isn't cruelty. It's psychological gravity. It's dark attraction, the potent force of fear over complacent love. Master image. Machiavelli's observation is brutally simple and terrifyingly accurate. It is not necessary to be good. It is necessary to appear good. This single sentence shatters the illusion most men live by. We're conditioned to believe that kindness, loyalty, hard work, and honesty earn respect and desire. They won't. The world, and specifically, women, don't perceive your internal truth. They see your presentation. You can possess immense loyalty, sharp intellect, deep values, and noble intentions. But if you project weak posture, an uncertain tone, or anxious energy, your worth remains unseen. Female attraction doesn't begin with objective facts. It begins with perception. She isn't analyzing your logic. She's scanning your energy, your demeanor, your reactions under pressure. Image becomes power. This isn't about deception. It's about framing. Humans respond to what feels true, not necessarily what is true. If you don't control how you're perceived, her biases, her past experiences, or her own assumptions will define you. So when you feel uncertain, stand as if you are certain. When anger surfaces, speak with the controlled intensity of a contained fire. When the urge to chase arises, do nothing. Let her move towards you. Stillness breeds power. Mystery ignites attraction. Show her perhaps 80% of who you are, leaving the rest to her imagination. What she conjures mentally will often be far more potent than anything you could articulate. Mystery is magnetic. Humans chase the unknown, the elusive. Obsession begins not with oversharing, but with silence, not with convincing, but with your very presence. Stop explaining yourself. Stop seeking validation. Start sculpting your image. In a world governed by perception, your image isn't just important, it's the entire game. Lion and fox, every woman will test you, not out of malice, but to gauge your resilience. She'll shift her communication, pull back, oscillate between warmth and coldness, say one thing while doing another. All of this is to see if you will crumble or hold firm. Most men remain oblivious to these tests, mistaking her behavior for confusion or emotional instability. They then fall into the trap of explaining, apologizing, and attempting to fix things with words, thereby losing the game. Machiavelli centuries ago provided the ultimate blueprint. A powerful man must embody both the lion and the fox. The lion represents strength. He doesn't chase, doesn't explain. He establishes boundaries with his silence and commands attention without raising his voice. The fox embodies intelligence. He doesn't react to provocations, doesn't reveal his strategies. He observes and acts with precise timing. The pitfall for most men is embodying only one. The lion alone can be provoked into an explosive reaction, rendering his strength unstable and his power mere noise. The fox, while charming and calculated, lacks the backbone for leadership, leaving her feeling untrusted. But when you embody both strength in your stillness and calculation in your silence, she cannot predict you. This uncertainty, this tension hooks her more profoundly than any verbal exchange. So how do you achieve this duality when she's emotional? Be the fox. Observe, don't react. Let her tests shatter against your calm. When she crosses a boundary, be the lion. Not with rage, but with a commanding presence. A stillness that declares, "This is my limit, and I will not yield." This is the man she respects, not for shouting, but for his unwavering composure. Not for explaining, but for his inherent self-assurance. She won't know how to manipulate you because you don't play by her rules. You observe, you wait, you act when it counts. This is power, not mere performance or charm. It's the fusion of strength and silence. The lion protects your integrity. The fox protects your mind. Together they make you unforgettable. Divide her world. Machiavelli's ancient strategy of divide and conquer extends beyond empires into the intricate workings of the human psyche. You don't control a woman by force, nor do you directly challenge her deeply held beliefs. Instead, you subtly plant seeds of doubt, allowing her mind to do the rest. When a woman feels certain she is in command, she knows her desires, feels secure, your objective isn't to dismantle her convictions, but to introduce a sliver of uncertainty, a small, unexpected shift, not an argument, but a suggestion. She might say, "I hate jealous men." You respond with a calm, playful smile, and a simple, "Is that so?" That seemingly innocuous statement creates a hairline fracture. Now her mind begins to churn. What did he mean by that? Do I truly feel that way? Why is that lingering in my thoughts? This is the genesis of division, not between you and her, but within her. A part of her may still hold her original belief, while another begins to question. She loses authorship of her own narrative, and you are the one who planted the initial seed. This isn't about exerting pressure. It's about creating psychological tension. Most men avoid this, rushing to agree to gain favor, to make her feel safe and validated. But certainty doesn't attract. Tension does. When she's internally conflicted, curious, and uncertain, her emotional state remains open, creating fertile ground for your influence to grow. Don't engage in direct conflict with her beliefs. Merely touch them once with calm composure, then let the ensuing silence work its magic. She will engage in internal debate, and without her conscious awareness, you will have entered her mind, not as an antagonist, but as an enigma. This is Machiavellian seduction. Not dominance, not drama, but surgical precision. It's a form of power that doesn't feel like power, but rather like burgeoning curiosity. And it is curiosity that snares her, keeping her circling you even in your quietude. Dose rewards. Machiavelli's counsel was stark. Injuries must be inflicted all at once, but benefits should be given little by little. This isn't merely a political tactic. It's a potent form of emotional control, highly effective in modern relationships. When she violates a boundary, your response must be immediate and decisive, not emotional. No arguments, no explanations, just a singular cold action. Silence, distance, withdrawal. No raised voices, no lectures, no guilt trips, just the sudden absence of your presence. That void stings because there's nothing tangible to oppose. She's left alone with her thoughts and her own accountability. Her mind races. What did I do wrong? Why has he stopped communicating? Is this permanent? This silence becomes a reflective mirror. Subsequently, when she demonstrates loyalty, warmth, or respect, bestow a small earned reward. A subtle glance, a fleeting smile, a genuine compliment, then withdraw again. You don't inundate her with affection. You don't allow her to feel she has you completely secured. You train her nervous system much like a casino. The unpredictability of the next reward keeps her engaged. This is what cultivates addiction. Not the magnitude of the reward, but its timing. The inverse is disastrous. Punishing too frequently and rewarding too readily renders you emotional, erratic and predictable. But you punish once. No prelude, no fanfare, just a crossed line and an ensuing silence. When she re-enters your sphere of influence, reward her sparingly, just enough to maintain her yearning. This isn't about cruelty. It's about discipline. It's Machiavellian psychology delivered with serene control. Pain delivered swiftly is remembered. Pleasure dispensed gradually is intensely craved. You transform from a mere man into a system she cannot stop engaging with. Observe her behavior. Most men gaze at a woman's physical form. A Machiavellian man studies her behavior. He remains unswayed by superficial beauty, his observation devoid of overt lust. He notices the subtle alterations in her speech when in the company of a man she respects versus one she influences. He tracks the minute shifts in her voice's cadence, the flicker of her gaze, the posture she adopts depending on who is observing. He distinguishes between her authentic self and her performance. No questions are asked, no overt compliments offered. His engagement is purely one of presence. While others seek to capture her physical attention, he has already infiltrated her psychological landscape. Then, when the opportune moment arises, and not a second sooner, he delivers a single calm, precise statement, devoid of overt emotion. You speak differently when he's near, or perhaps you laugh, but it lacks genuine mirth. There is no judgment, no inflection, no smile, just silence. In that instant, her reality is recalibrated. This wasn't flattery she could dismiss, nor was it something she could easily laugh off. It was a truth she was unprepared to confront, delivered by a man who sought no validation from her. The female mind, indeliberate and complex, retained such moments. It replays them. How did he know that? What else is he perceiving? Was I that transparent? Has he been observing this entire time? She no longer feels admired. She feels profoundly seen. This revelation isn't achieved through force or pressure, but through quiet observation and incisive insight. You didn't demand attention. You didn't vive for control. You simply noticed what everyone else overlooked and articulated, what no one else dared to speak. This is psychological dominance. It's not loud or aggressive. It's a silent power that resonates in her consciousness long after you have departed. When you articulate the precise observation that touches a hidden aspect of her being, you leave an indelible mark. Compliments and fleeting affections will be forgotten. But the man who recognized her facade and named it will not. Not to inflict pain, but to remind her that you see beyond the superficial. You don't desire her curated image. You perceive the underlying mechanics. Once she feels this, you inhabit her thoughts even when physically absent. Control through absence, constant availability, immediate responsiveness, and perpetual presence breed predictability. And predictability in the realm of attraction leads to forgettability. Conversely, vanishing without notice, fanfare, or explanation renders you unforgettable, not as a punitive measure, nor as an act of dismissal, but because you have strategically created a void. The female mind possesses an innate drive to fill such voids, to comprehend what has been lost and why. In your silence, her internal monologue amplifies. She revisits your last exchange, dissects every glance, every pause, every unspoken word. She searches for phantom clues, grappling with questions. Did I err? Why hasn't he reached out? Was his affection merely a performance? She is no longer enjoying your attention. She is haunted by your absence. This is the crux of the matter. Where most men overexplain, overextend, and overstay their welcome, you strategically withdraw, not with a farewell, not with a confrontation, but to cultivate space within this void. She begins to construct an idealized version of you, recollecting not merely your past self, but a more formidable, enigmatic and powerful entity. You transcend the role of a man to become an unresolved question, a ghost of unfinished meaning. This is not about inflicting suffering. It's about employing psychological contrast. You offer warmth, then withdraw it. You demonstrate presence, then recede into shadow. This emotional whiplash resonates more deeply than any elusive compliment. However, heed this crucial detail. Your disappearance must not stem from anger or be employed as a mere tactic. It is most effective when your value is being taken for granted. Timing is paramount. Absence only garners potency when preceded by significant presence. And when you return serene and unperturbed, she will not greet you with indignation, but with a mixture of curiosity and apprehension, knowing you can depart without hesitation. This is not manipulation. It is the application of natural forces. Gravity does not pursue. It draws. Therefore, withdraw just long enough for her to question whether she ever truly possessed you. Be her turning point if you aspire to reside permanently within her thoughts. Transcend the role of a mere boyfriend or a transient fling. Become the pivotal moment that redefined her world, the inflection point in her personal narrative. The truth is, women may forget many of the men they encounter. However, they never forget the man who awakened something profound within them, an emotional resonance they were unaware existed, waiting to be discovered. This is not about superficialities like gifts, appearance, or charm. It is about impact. Speak the truths others are too timid to voice. Meet her gaze and articulate the hidden aspects of her being. Do this not to shame her, but to demonstrate that you perceive her authentically, not merely her surface attributes or her beauty, but her core truth. When you achieve this without seeking approval or attempting to impress, you don't simply enter her life. You fundamentally reshape it. As one profound observer noted, emotional memory shapes desire. People crave what leaves an emotional imprint. Machiavelli understood that the architect of the narrative controls the mind. Shape her story not by coercion, but by becoming the chapter she cannot erase. Perhaps you were the first man who refused to pursue her, the first to establish a standard and uphold it by walking away when it was breached. Perhaps you challenged her perspectives, compelled her to pause, and prompted introspection about her self-identity. And then you departed, not with bitterness, not with pleas, but simply gone, yet not truly gone. Within her consciousness you remain. You have become intrinsically linked to her personal transformation. Such a presence does not diminish with the passage of time. She may move on. She may laugh. She may even cease to utter your name aloud. But she will never forget the version of herself that emerged in your wake. In the hidden chambers of her mind, behind every smile lies a memory that whispers, "He changed me." Once you become the turning point in a woman's narrative, the struggle for space in her heart becomes obsolete. Final words. Control begins here. Let us be unequivocal. These are not mere lines, tricks, or superficial tactics. They are meticulously crafted psychological frameworks designed to activate deep-seated responses within the female mind, shifting her from logical consideration to obsessive fixation, from a stance of control to a state of intense craving. While most men expend their energy attempting to capture her attention through jokes, pursuit, and performance, you are cultivating a presence that elicits not laughter, but contemplation, introspection, and a deep emotional resonance even against her will. Your objective is not to entertain her, not to prove your worth, not to serve as her confidant or therapist. You are the force that fundamentally alters her center of gravity. This is achieved not through boisterous declarations or attempts at appeasement, but by delivering the singular insight that penetrates her defenses and remains there unrest. You create silence. You cultivate mystery. You carve out a space in her mind that no one else can fill. This is not about yielding. It is about precision. The vast majority of men will never grasp this because their addiction to external validation blinds them to the underlying structures of emotion. However, if something within you has stirred during this exposition, if a deeper primal instinct has been awakened, then this is more than a video. It is a signal that you are prepared to abandon the conventional game, to cease pleading for love, affection, or attention, and to instead build an irresistible gravity. Therefore, here is my request. If this message has resonated with something authentic within you, comment the single word "control" below. No elaboration is necessary. This single word signifies that your presence here is not for casual entertainment, but for the purpose of taking the reins. And if you are ready to delve into the profound depths of this subject to master attraction, power, and emotional dominance through silent understanding, then subscribe now. What is yet to come will not merely instruct you on how to win her attention, but on how to evolve into the kind of man who inherently possesses it. This really makes you think about how attraction works. Beyond the surface level, amazing. If you loved this video, please like, comment, and subscribe to get daily video updates. And thanks.